Hello, everyone, and welcome to another session of the Mastermind Book Club. Tonight, we're reviewing another important book, which was introduced to us by Reggie Hilliard. And speaking of which, Reggie Hilliard will give you the introduction, the name, and the author of this book. Reggie, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Yes, tonight we are discussing a book called How to Be Good at Almost Anything, or Almost Everything, by a gentleman by the name of Pat Flynn. This book is a pretty good book in my estimation because it talks about not necessarily being the best at any one thing. And the thing about it is, a lot of us sometimes we think that we need to be the number one person, the number one. I have to be top, I have to be the best. But the reality in life, you're not necessarily going to be the best at any particular thing. And even if you ever are the best, there's always someone to come along and knock you off your perch. If you think about it in life, we do many different things, right? And so the idea is to be good, as much as we can, so overall we have a good life. If you think about it, people like Benjamin Franklin, he was known as what's called a polymath, which is basically a person who's very good at a lot of different things, right? So I think of this as like this, right? If you ever follow the Olympics, there's something called a couple different events. For the women, it's called the heptathlon, which is 7 different events, and for the men, there's the decathlon. And if you think about that event, there's the persons who enter on either side, men and women, they're not necessarily trying to win every event. Right. So, the idea is that you do these different events and you're good at all of them. But the thing is, you'll want to score as high as you can in any one of those events. And what happens is that, say, for instance, with the women in the heptathlon, you're 7 different events. You get a second place, a third place, a first place, a fourth place, a second place, a third place, a second place, a 7th place. And overall, that gives you an average. Similarly, with the men, there are those 10 different events. You try to do as best you can in those respective events. And overall, if you do pretty well or pretty good in all those events without necessarily even getting one first place, you'll win the event. So I think of it as that. Try to make life for men, or who may call themselves men, that have decathlon, and for women that have teflon. And if you do as best you can in all those events or all those areas of your life, then you'll ultimately come out pretty high or on top. And that's what I call it.
Awesome. And you do come out pretty high on top. And that's how it is. I mean, there's more than one way to look at it, but what Reggie said is awesome. I think it's awesome. You're awesome, by the way. Thank you. Charles, you're up. Charles Comer.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I enjoyed the book. It's a book that I wish I had a little bit more time to spend with, because we have this saying, jack of all trades,
right,
and master of none, but it's better to be a jack of all trades than never mastering one. So I love the quotes in the book, and I'm gonna start there. The book talks about faith, which is one of my top subjects that Pat Flynn talks about. Being better to make a difference. It is something that I liked in the book. He said that if you do something you love, then it won't be hard for you to be disciplined in it. Reggie and I talked about when he was talking about playing the guitar, that it was something that was easy for him to practice every day because he got a lot out of it. And I thought of you, David, how you run every day, because that's something you really love to do, and it's good for you, and you're disciplined in it. And Gina, I know you also do a lot of walking and running also, and you guys are in great shape. The quotes that the book covers, one is by Socrates. The undisciplined life is an untamed life. And when your life is untamed and you don't have any discipline, it's hard for you to really focus. So he said the undisciplined life is not even a life worth living. I think about people who are given everything with a silver spoon in their mouth. Most time, those people don't live long. If you ever notice, a person who has everything and can do everything, they just don't make it. But the book is an awesome book. I'm gonna give you one of Nietzsche's sayings is that He who has a why can conquer almost anyhow. He who has a why can conquer almost anyhow. And if you love what you do, then if you love what you do, then love what you love what you do will do. It's a little tongue twister. If you love what you do, then what you do, then what you love to do will do. There we go. And that's what I'm gonna say for tonight.
Wow, Charles. I if you love what you do, then do what you do. Is that right?
If you love what you do, then what you love to do will do.
Beautifully said. That's beautifully said, Charles. Thank you. That's awesome too. You're awesome.
Thank you. So are you.
Tijuana, you ready?
Hey, sure, sure. I'm not
Can't
gonna be
see you there.
long.
Yeah, can't
Oh,
see you.
well,
Yeah.
okay, wait. How
Okay,
about
much.
now?
That's a
little
little
bit?
better. Yes.
Okay. Well, what I got is almost similar to what Charles just said as far as a jack of all trades, because that's the first thing I thought about. And I was like, wow, I always heard that a jack of all trades is not a good thing.
Right.
But then when I thought about it, I said similar, a jack of all trade and a master of one. That's what I was thinking about. So that this way to have the skills, you know, like the skill set that's needed, like the basics. And then once you have the basic skills of everything else, like he used, like riding a bike. Once you learn to ride a bike, you almost will always know how to ride a bike. You know what I mean? So I kind of like went into that, like, wow, you know, so it kind of gave me like a feeling like, wow, so it is okay that I have all those skills. So now it's time to put it all together now so that it can make sense, you know, like, and it can start making money, like, in, you know, for me and helping others at the same time. So it's like bringing something to the table that can help everybody like that. And that's all I'm gonna say. Thank you. All right.
Bringing something to the table
To
that
the
can
table
help
for
everybody
everybody.
is very important. Very
Absolutely.
important. But very few of us, in reference to the world, don't realize
Things
that.
like that.
Don't
Right.
realize it. Yeah. And that's very powerful. Thank you, Ty. Thank you.
You're welcome. All
Gina,
right. You're welcome.
can you speak or are you, should we keep going?
Go ahead,
ahead.
David. Can you hear
Yep.
me?
We hear you.
All right, sorry, it's my turn. I didn't hear you. The internet went right out for a minute
Yes.
there. Okay, so that statement, being the jack of all trade, has always been something that, you know, has a negative connotation to me. And I was brought up believing you must be able to master something, just like, you know, has been mentioned here already on this forum. And so one of the things that I read into it was I looked at some of the comments on there, and this is the first time that I have actually seen the rest of that quote. That is, we usually only quote part of it. It says, a jack of all trade is a master of none, but it's oftentimes better than a master of one. It goes something like that. And that blew me away.
Can you say that again
Okay?
once more?
We have been misquoting that
Can you
all
say it again?
around. A jack of all trade and a master of none is oftentimes better than a master of one.
None.
Okay.
None. Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, so that was like, wow, that was really an aha moment for me. It's like we have been told only one part of that phrase all the while. And that was quite liberating. Okay. And I know some people when I lived out in the Pacific Island, one of the islands over there was this guy that I was friends with. He was from the Philippines, and he and his father were just amazing to me, how they can do a little bit of everything. It wasn't one thing you can ask them to say, I need this done, and so forth and so on. They knew how to do it, you know, just good enough. Not anything like, you know, very, I mean, certain areas they had this expertise, but they were really good at everything. And I thought that was pretty impressive. So I'm gonna, you know, that's the one I wanted to like bring out. I'm gonna say it again, a jack of all trade and a master of none. Okay.
being
or a jack of all trades is a master of none, but he's oftentimes
better
is oftentimes better than
a master of
being a
none.
master of just one,
No,
Of none.
of one,
Yeah.
of one. You know, somebody
Okay.
who masters one thing, somebody
right, because she's
who
writing
can
that.
do a lot of things. Yes.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree. I agree. Because no, if I could say something, because he did say like the specialist, right? Like to specialize in just one thing, it's like almost looking for like almost permission and like in that specific field. So I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying, Gina. That makes a lot of sense. That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense.
I'll write it in chat a little bit later. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Gina, what you said there is very important. I like the title, How to Be Better at Almost Everything. Pat Flynn, who was very successful at the age of 27, he became a millionaire. I don't know if you're aware of that. At the age of 27, when you become a millionaire, I'd say you're pretty well off. And that assists others with gaining whatever it is that they want from someone most probably in their circle. And to us, this book was brought by Reggie Hilliard, and somehow it came to his circle that this person who's in his 40s, I believe now, has had some success, but realizing that you don't need to be a billionaire or trillionaire. You don't need to be working 24 hours a day. You don't need to be working on one thing, but you have that option. There's more than one way to look at this. If you want to work on one thing, you can. If you want to work on a few things, you can. And that's one of the things that I've had in life that people have always told me, I have a problem because I can't decide what I need to do because I have too many things going on. And I know that. I have way too many things going on. However, I become an expert in health. I'm becoming an expert in investing. I have an expertise in sports, and I have many other things going on as well. But the reality is, you can't do everything all at once. You have to concentrate on something at the beginning with more concentration. For example, if you want to build your arms, just like Pat Flynn says, you've got to do some workout that will, in the short term, make you gain some weight, but in order for you to gain muscles in your arms. And that's the reality. Most people don't see it that way. You're going to have to do that. Now, the last thing that I want to tell you about this book is that most of us will not look at being jacks of all trades, although most people in the world are capable of doing more than one thing. I don't know why you can become a specialist when most people in the world are not specialists. However, they can assist you with more than just one thing in your life. So the reality is, it's twisted our thought in general as people, because when you approach a family member and this family member is not a licensed doctor, and then you say, well, how can he help me? He's not a doctor. That's the small problems with being a jack of all trades. However, if someone says they're a jack of all trades, usually it's because they've learned other ways, and it doesn't hurt to listen in and find out. Pat Flynn, I believe, got it right. I believe that we are meant to learn more than one thing in this world, and you don't have to be 100% focused on one thing. Just learn 80%, 80-20 rule, which I don't think he mentioned the Pareto principle, but that's pretty much where he's hinting at, the 80-20 rule. So this is it for the Mastermind Book Club. We're signing off tonight, another empowering session. Next week, we're going to go over a book that was recommended by Pat Flynn, and we'll announce it in our private group tomorrow, and then you'll get to hear our summary next week. Take care.